Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Sketch Sessions where we get to chill, draw, be creative, or just relax as I sketch, draw, paint, color, and ink illustrations. There's no music in this video, so you can put your own music on. Sit back and relax with me as we continue working on this image of an elf. All right, a warlock elf, so to speak. All right, now today, you may have seen in episode 1 of the Elf series, it's a series now, this was the rough sketch. And then we refined the sketch to this version of the elf. Don't worry about that, that's just me sort of sharpening my pencil over there. Refined the sketch to this version of the elf. And what we're going to do today is we're going to ink this. All right, so we have our rough sketch, our refined sketch, and we're going to move to our inked sketch. And how I'm going to ink this today is I am going to be using a manga dipping pen as well as my dipping ink. All right, this is Zig Cartoonists by Kuretake Super Black Ink 60. Very good brand. A little bit expensive, we'll be honest with you, but very good brand. We're going to use this. And I'm probably going to mess up, so in that case we're just going to use your standard correction pens. Or Tipp-Ex, as some people know this to be. Also have a Pentel variant here and such. And I will be using the G-nibs. All right, so I'm going to grab one of these from here. These are the Nico G-nibs. Okay, and then of course I'm also going to be using, and I'll just show you this. I'm sure the camera can focus on it at least at this distance. Just slots into this nib. Oh, I just remembered, I actually need water as well. Better get some water. But just pop the G-nib in just like that. All right. I'm also going to be using a roll of toilet paper. I know this looks crazy, but I will explain it later. This might actually make for a great thumbnail if I sort of position it correctly. Anyway, and a bunch of napkins. All right. So these napkins will also have a use in sort of wiping the nib and such, as well as also protecting various parts of the image as we ink it. Now I do need to fetch a roll of toilet paper, so give me 2 seconds and I will be right back. My apologies, I didn't mean roll of toilet paper, I meant a glass of water, because I'm going to need to, from time to time, clean the dipping pen. All right, mildly terrifying, but nevertheless. So I'm giving this just a little bit of a twirl about. I don't want to shake it too much. It gets bubbles in it, and I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but just want to get the material moved around. I don't know if there's settling or not in these types of products. But this is a black ink. It is a water-based pigment, and it is water resistant and alcohol resistant, which is very important if you're going to be coloring with Copic markers. Now, you can't see in front of me right now, but I have quite a large selection of them in front of me, and that is how we will most likely be coloring this piece, if not digitally. I haven't decided quite yet. And it also says on here, mind you, resistant to eraser friction, which is very nice, right? It's very good to erasing your pencil lines once you've inked. All right, so we're going to get started. terrifying as it may be, I've got some sample paper on the left here, marker paper that was cut skew, so it was perfect for this sort of thing, where I can just do a little bit of a quick practice before I jump into inking the piece. And what we will do as well is, okay, this thing's hard to open. Oh, there we go. What we'll do as well is we will be making sure to ink from top to bottom, left to right. So kind of doing top to bottom on the left, moving towards the right side. And the reason for that is because we don't want to have an instance where our hands are moving over the piece at any point, right? This may be very light for you right now, but it's the very same illustration, and I'm going to be drawing over it. I don't know why I keep seeing little black fluffy things on this canvas, aka piece of paper, but nevertheless, I'm sure it'll be fun. All right, so I'm going to grab some marker paper here, or blending card as it's often called, dip the dipping pen in the ink. Maybe I can move it into the shot a little bit to show you. Right, I'm just going to dip it in. So if you take a careful look at the little gaps there, like T-shaped gaps, we're going to dip up to those guys, or up to the top of the line. We don't want to go all the way in though, of course, definitely not all the way in. All right. Okay, so we've got some ink on here. Let's do some tests. So dipping pens give you a very modulated line. So we have big variance of line weight as we use it. And also, it has a good degree of resistance on the paper, because of course it's metal scraping against paper. And that kind of acts a little bit like stabilization, right? Like you would experience in Clip Studio Paint. And you can get a good few lines done before the ink runs out and you want to redip. But you'll see as we go, there'll be times where the line starts getting very sketchy like this, and it sort of starts fading away. You can see it in this area over here. And that is our time to dip again. All right. So I think we're pretty much good to go. So what I'll be doing here is working on a line weight hierarchy where we're going to try our best to, and by we I mean me, we're going to try our best to keep a sort of single line weight for objects, a very thin line weight for inner areas, and then a thicker line weight for outer areas and shadowed areas. All right, so because it's ink, even I can mess up very easily. So we have to definitely try to have a stroke by stroke approach. Another thing I'll say just before I start, and you can share my nervousness with me here. I'm always nervous when it's ink, right? Because it's very permanent. What was I going to say? Is that typically you would be turning the page, but because this is a YouTube video and I want you guys to have a good view of what I'm doing, I'm going to have to try and ink this without turning the page at all. So, well, let's see how it goes. All right. Okay, I'll accept that line. That line's fine. I'm going to be ghosting these lines a lot. A little bit thick there. That weight was a little bit thick for my tastes. Try and not press too hard. Do need a good degree of confidence when doing this. It's okay if there's some slightly thicker line weights here and there, because that will give us some good natural line modulation. Now do keep in mind that I do have a light sketch under here. Once again, it might be a bit hard for you guys to see. So what I did there, and I'll leave that line there, is, you know, the dipping pen only really works from one direction. So you kind of don't want to try to pull lines forwards. That's not going to work with the dipping pen. I'm just going to dip it again. use my card here just to make sure. Try and rotate the pen to an angle that's going to give me a thinner line weight moving down. Okay, that's not ideal, that line, but anyway, it's all right, because we've got the earrings in the ears, a little bit of tangenting there, not a problem. I think that's fine. All right, let's do the bottom of the eyebrows. Oh, that's a problem. Okay, so first lesson. Let's just make sure there's not too much ink on the dipping pen. All right. Okay, I'm not too worried about that at this point. I'm going to try to absorb it and then just use the whiteout. I think that's what the Americans call it, whiteout. And just cover that area with whiteout. All right. Okay, I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and then I'll get back to the whiting out part of it. So it's going to look a little bit ugly, but this is good. It's good practice for me as well to make sure that I don't have big drips sitting on my dipping pen while I'm doing this. All right. It's definitely it's a little bit thick. That line's a little bit thick. No big deal. I always say approach things with confidence regardless. All right. Obviously the eyes I don't want to mess up. Oh, and you see I'm breaking the rule now. I've still got these sections of hair to do, but it's going to force me to put my hand over already inked parts. So what we can do is we can use a napkin to cover those. Let's just say I want to do this particular line here. So I'll pull that line like that. And that'll make sure that I don't mess up. I'm just realizing there's not enough surface area for me to, the page is bending here. So I do need to figure out something. Oh, you know what I can do? I can just take the page a bit down here for a second. That'll be fine. And let's ink these hair sections. Oh gosh. This is really getting a bit messed up. I guess this takes longer to dry than I'm giving it credit for. This is again, this is like a real-time lesson of like why it's very important to make sure that you are working, you know, from one corner to another in a sense, so that you don't have to put your hand or objects over the ink. I definitely thought that was dry already, but clearly I overestimated that. No biggie. Let's do a quick test to see what is and isn't dry here. Okay, that seems dry. It seems dry now. It also seems pretty dry. Yeah, that's good. All right, so now what we're going to do is let's try this product. I've not used this one before. This is called Weibo Office Good Partner Correction Pen, Multi-Purpose and Quick Dry. Flammable, harmful if swallowed, keep out of reach of children, shake well before use, recap after use. All right. Well, let's see what color this is. If it's like cheap quality, it's going to be more of a yellow, and that I will not want on my image. Okay. Now mistakes. Well, this actually seems decent quality. Look, let's hope it doesn't yellow over time. It's a little bit thick, mind you, and that means it's going to take a little bit longer to dry, but it does dry fairly quickly. All right, so let's white out this area. An unfortunate casualty, to be sure. I wonder if I can absorb some of this because it's dripping a bit. All right, and just wide out some of this. I think I should tap and spread. Tap and spread. Okay. Right. I do wonder if this reactivates itself if it touches dried area. Perhaps it doesn't. I hope it doesn't. All right, that's going to certainly take a while to dry, the one by the mouth. We'll give it time. Okay, back to dipping pen goodness. I think I'll have to work on another part of the image just for a little bit. I usually, to be honest with you, I like getting the facial areas done because they are the focal points of the piece. So here's our dipping pen, dipping it again. Just making sure there's not too much ink on this. Don't want that same accident I had just now. Right. Okay. Now I feel like, let me try and hit any lines that I can hit that are within my range to hit. Okay. Oh, it's all good. Fix that up. These are our general line weights. That seems to have dried very quickly. Oh, can't use the pen certain ways. Again, one of the reasons this is a little bit of an issue is because I'm not able to turn the page, and the dipping pen really functions pretty much at this angle, right? Like this. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense, but anyway. Okay. But it's okay, we can make the best of it. It'll still be hopefully a chilled and relaxed sketch session. Oh, and guess what I've done again? I've broken the rule, left to right rule. Right, now I'm too far here, so I'm going to have to definitely wait for these areas to dry because we want to be working on the left side. All right, where can I start? All right, let us do the bottom areas of the image and work as far as I can work on the left side here. Okay, so it's a bit of a mind warp because you don't draw, right? You draw sort of all over the image, but in this instance, we can't do that. We have to sort of ink very carefully. Okay, I think my hand will be safe here. You want to try and get the lines drawn as confidently and as quickly as possible. I feel like I want to move my hand there. It's all good. Practice makes perfect, as they say. Let me not advance too rapidly into the rest of the image. Gotta make sure. You can hear me talking to myself almost here as I'm proceeding to detail out certain things. Just don't want anything to spread. I think that's okay. Getting a little bit dry in the ink world. Line weights are a little bit too heavy here. It'll still look okay, but we can definitely do better. Right. Carrying on, this line is a little bit heavy. I think these areas are dry, mostly dry. Yes, so I can get my hand back in here to do this section. Just lowering the page a bit. This is our hair bun. There is these need very light lines. I should have gone a lot lighter there, but anyway. Kind of having to do the lines in reverse a little bit. So I'm not able to follow Irinuki very precisely, whereas as I would usually. Okay. Let's just see how I can get a thinner line. It's more of an angle. These lines are definitely not supposed to connect there, but anyway. All right. Let me rinse the dipping pen off. Give it a bit of a wipe with a napkin over here. Let's carry on. Top to bottom, left to right, it's very important that we work that way. And, you know, clearly I've made a few mistakes so far, but that's okay. We've got the tools to correct these issues. So it's not a major problem. One just has to sort of change the way they think about the lines they choose to do when doing using a dipping pen. You have to really try to be a little bit more confident than I have been in these lines. They probably look okay from a distance, but they're a little bit wavy to me. taking a big chance there. The dipping pen does not like to work at that angle that I was doing that at. Right. Just want to fix up this eyebrow area here a little bit. Give it a bit more of a tapered line there. And you see, now I've touched here again. Now I can't work on these areas unless I do it in a very careful way, because I don't want my hand to go over the image. Right. Like to keep this pen, let's say, juiced up. Okay. I've got to get some of these hair overlaps in. Again, not as smooth as I would have liked it. Got to try to be stroke to stroke here, stroke by stroke. Right. These inner lines are definitely too thick. There is another pen nib that we would technically use for the inner lines. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Don't know if it's the S nib, maybe something like that. The one benefit, though, even when there are numerous small errors here and there, is you do get a very natural look. You're obviously not sticking to the plan 100% of the time anyway, and there's nothing really that can replace a good natural look. Okay, let's see if I can do this very carefully. This line should have been drawn a bit more like that. Right. Looking okay. I do want to sort of get her eyes sorted just now. Not really that happy with the weight. The line weight's a little bit too thick on the inner areas. I should need to think about a strategy to doing this in a more effective way. Let's get a bit more ink on here. Okay, I'm going to just weight this line here a little bit under the ear. And we'll pull her neckline here. Requires quite a bit of confidence to pull that line well, not going to lie. Confidence and speed. All right, I think her mouth is pretty fine. Just have a little bit of a line here. There we go. So this line here, I don't know if you guys can see that, but my gosh, I would love to turn the page to do that. I need a better setup though if I were to be returning pages on stream. The sort of surface area of the underlying, let's call it art stand that I've makeshift built here, is not enough for me to rotate this page effectively, unfortunately. Giving the dipping brush a little bit of a clean, because, you know, inevitably ink's going to be drying in the grooves. We don't want that. Okay. Just trying to be very light and gentle with this, to try and see if I can grab some thinner lines out of it, just here and there. Trying to turn some of my flaws into extra little details. Why not? Okay, so I think I can do the eye. The one eye here. Let's give it a try. Okay, this is not going well. It's okay. I'll do my very best. It's a cool tool. It's an unusual tool though. I think I literally went through the paper here. No, I didn't. That's strange. All right. Okay. Get the other eye in. I think we need to just thicken this up a little bit. It's definitely paper tearing over here. But anyway, I'm sure it'll be okay in the end. Also, I think I can go a little slower, and that might help me a lot. Just take it easy. Don't have to do all the lines too quick. All right, looking okay from a distance. Let's get some more lash lines out here and weight this a little bit. Okay, get more ink on this sucker. All right, carrying on. Light line on the nose here. Here as well. And try to do that well. That turned out okay, so I'll accept that. I'll take it, should I say. Just doing a little bit of weighting on these iris lines. Try to keep a smooth impression of the shape. Didn't add highlights in on the sketches really, so add a little highlights into our eyes. And we'll fill this a little bit. Okay. Just want to make sure we've got a good ink flow here. And I'm now going to pull this and this as well. I would have done it differently, but we have to work with the constraints. Not turning the page at the moment. It's fine, it's still okay. Oh, running a bit low on ink. Let's dip the pen. Seems good. Right, and I'm going to try my best to, let me just do this. Brow. I'm going to try my best to pull these side hair pieces out. Okay, that one worked out okay. Do this one here. And then there's a little bit of one here. Okay, I think that the head went actually reasonable at the end of the day. Still a bit too heavy on some of the lines. But what can you do, right? What can you do? All right, this sucker's getting too dry now. Time to clean the dipping pen. Trying to avoid those clogs. Of course, something you really want to be sure to do is just to make sure you don't get any ink on the bottom of your hand over here, for example. You know, you don't want to be smearing ink across the page. That's just going to be very bad. All right, I'm going to switch to a new card, new blend card. By the way, it's just what the paper is called, and we're not actually using this for any kind of blending. Okay, let's carry on. Get some more ink on the dipping pen with the G-nib. Do a test line. Okay, try and see if we can get just some very light detail lines in here. Okay, it seems reasonable. Okay. This area I do want to dry a little bit more. I think I'm going to extend the ponytail section. Well, the ponytail, what would you call it? The ponytail elastic. All right. And I just need this section here to dry. Just gonna give it a bit of a blow. And then I'm going to continue on the left side. Top to bottom, left to right is how we want to approach using dipping pens. Okay. move the image a bit up for you guys so you can see me working on those sections. Right. Quite a few lines to do here. I'm testing if this ink is relatively dry. Seems okay. Oh, what happened there? It seems like the pen has dried very quickly this time. Oh, there we go. Maybe it got stuck. This is where our stroke to stroke is really gonna come in useful. I'm gonna stroke, 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 stroke. Very confident. This section here is not being done very confidently, unfortunately. But it's okay, all in good time. Try and do my best here. Ugh, ran out of ink on that line. Don't know if it's running out of ink per se, or if it's that it's actually drying a little bit quick. Okay, I'm going to try and pull that line there. Now, I may also just be using the tool too aggressively. Could be. Maybe I should just strive to be a little bit more gentle in how I press. I tend to press very hard when I draw. That's why I have very low opacity on my brushes. Add some noise in here. Just a little bit. Okay. I'll weight, add a little bit of weight to the bottom and left sides of these things. Whoops. This one's going to be super thick. It's my bad. I just want to now just kind of have it fade a little bit here. Okay, should be okay. Right. Clean the dipping pen, nib. Okay. Dip it one more time. Do a few test lines. Okay, now we need to pull out this massive armor line over here. Do my best to make sure I don't mess it up too badly. Line weight's a little thick. Right. We've got this one as well. This is going to be tricky. Oh, I forgot a piece of hair here. I'll do that quick. Ugh, that sucks. Oh, well. Yeah, it's running dry. Okay. We'll continue from where I left off. This inner section pretty much is in shadow, so I think I'm going to just do some hatching here. Try to do it confidently. All right. Can get this armor line out up to this section. Neck. Better not go too far into the right, top to bottom, left to right with this technique of using this particular tool. Right. There's a lot of improv going on here, I'll tell you that. And keep in mind, it is more ideal to be turning the page. And I think the next time I do this on the sessions, I think I will turn the page just for my own sanity. This time we can just move through it like this. A little bit wobbly, that line. And just some undescribed, vaguely described symbolism within that medallion. All right. Those are inner details. I'll try to do them just now. I think my line weight hierarchy is definitely not going as well as I'd have wanted it to. Man, this tool works so great if you can use it at the proper angle. It sort of goes awry when you kind of trying to use it in a way it's not supposed to be used. That is not turning the page. Not that I'm complaining, but I can see my efficiency is so fast when I use it. You can see here I can just boom, boom, boom. So it's clearly, you know, it's a big deal to turn the page. It's not just optimal. I would argue it's almost essential to do that. Okay, let's just get some details down here. Just filling in some random details. Just making stuff up, actually. All right. I want this line to be a little bit thicker. Whoops, that's a mistake. That's also a little bit of a mistake. Sure, we can salvage this somehow. Oh, that's not good. All right, it's fine. There's a few areas where my lines have overlapped, and so I'm going to have to refer back to the what's that stuff called again? The whiteout. We'll get the white out going. So there's areas here that I feel are confident in my lines, and then there's areas where I feel like I just lost the plot. I don't like too many vague details in my work, so yeah. All right, let me clean the dipping pen again. You can see there's a lot of dipping pen cleaning that goes on. Okay, carry on. Not really too long to go now. At least the focal point is pretty much done. There's only a few lines left for the rest of the piece, including the little skeleton over there. Is the bottom of the image on stream? I'm going to move this a little bit up. I'm going to be doing these lines here. Okay. And she's got a small pack here. Okay, that's done. And let's do these lines here. The elbow section where the elbow is turning. This angle's definitely more conducive, so that's great. Conducive to drawing the kind of lines that I want to be drawing. A little bit of a heavier line at the bottom here. This is the main section of her top glove. And let's try and get this in one shot. Oh, not as good as I would have liked that line to have gone. Okay. Running out of ink here. I think it will take more time and more experience to know how far I can get with the amount of ink on the dipping pen, right? That's a great line. Good confidence. That I'm starting to really feel like the importance of confidence in using this tool. Super high level. One does not simply use a dipping pen like this. Right. One difficultly uses a dipping pen like this. That's where I'm going with that. Okay, let's stick to this side of the image again. It's going to make weird little bumps here. That's just to emphasize the belt. Let's just do one line at a time. I'm not as confident as I would have liked, sadly. This is a very hard angle right now to deal with. Let's move the page a bit up like this. See if I can make some decent lines here. I mean, what is inking if not basically making the best lines you can, right? Here's hoping that the other lines above here are dry. As I look across this image, I can see really that I want to get my skills up with the dipping pen, because I think once you master it, it's going to look really, really sick when like the entire image is confident lines and well-controlled weights. What I will try and do with this, once I've finished the bulk of just the general lines, is I'm going to try and selectively add very thick weights here and there to create a contrast. So that the thicker lines that I've done already will look thinner. Whoops. It was actually a positive thing that I ran out of ink there. All right. This here is not a line we want to mess up. Kind of get that in. These are little files holding perhaps health potion or something like that. All right. Okay, what else? Okay, this is sort of her dagger. So I'm giving it very thick outer lines, like a clear silhouette to show that it's a wrapped dagger. And these cloths sort of all wrap around. Might be time to clean this pen. I think we should clean it. Right. Yep, the trials and tribulations of traditional art, right? On the one hand, you get the natural look and feel. And on the other hand, you have to deal with the potential to make, let's say, large errors or tiny mistakes, right? Something like that. Okay. Just doing a sword hilt. And I had pre-decided before I began working on this that I was going to make this sort of horn structure way cooler, way bigger. Because the back of this dagger of hers, some kind of creature's horn. So I'm just expanding the size a little bit. Give it a bit of a weird look. Okay. All right, so there's some details to do, and then the fingers of her arms crossing to do. Just see if this is dry. Stuff seems relatively dry here. It's actually funny, like it's thicker than you'd think it is. Like I can feel it on the surface of the paper. Right. Okay. Okay. Be very careful as I do the finger sections. Shouldn't have done that line first, but anyway, whatever. Okay. That was marginally nerve-wracking, but anyway. Okay, now completely dodged the original line, so I'm gonna have to make this, make it come down a bit more like that. Guess it's okay, can't be perfect, right? Okay, let's pull this line out. These are some sort of detail lines here. Tie into how the armor sort of connects in some way. Same for these little scalies. Whoops, running out of ink as I do this. It's fine. Dip it again. Let's finish the other scaly right up. Too much ink on this thing. All right. There's actually a detail in there. I hope I don't forget that. It's not super critical, but don't want to leave it out. Like a little minor armor detail. Right, we're getting close to sort of finishing all the general lines, which is great. Okay, now these breast lines, I really don't want to mess these up. They're supposed to be smooth, round, very confident, very clean lines. Just juicing this pen up before I get to that. All right, I'm definitely going to rotate the page for this because I don't want to mess this up super bad. Here's hoping the ink at the bottom has dried. Just trying to decide what the best angle is here. Oh, gosh, we've scaled the left breast down already. My bad. Missed the line a little bit. I don't think it's the end of the world. Possibly for the best. Don't know, hard to say. Try thickening it up a bit here. Have to be very careful. You know what? Let's not play with fire. Okay, this line here, I should be able to pull it up. Ugh, ink. Let's try this. Hope I don't smear anything doing this. Okay, this is sort of shadow under here. Okay, there's some light details in there, so just going to sort of roughly try to get them in. They are light, so try to be very thin with my line weights. That. Something like that. All right. Then this area should be dry now. Should be able to just quickly, lightly get some of these details in of the armor. Okay, that's pretty much the main lines of the image. That seems okay. Could be way more confident than this, but anyway, it is what it is. Like, last but not least, we've got the skeleton. You know what, let me actually clean this, and then there should be enough to clean the skeleton. Then I will do the skeleton. I will draw, ink him out, should I say. And once that is done, I will add some line weights and probably add some very thin and light lines here and there, just for a little bit of contrast. All right. Dipping pen still looking pretty good. Just want to shake the ink up a little bit. Move this image a little bit down for you guys. Okay, it's sort of got these rubber things underneath it. And what will happen to this image, right, once this phase is done? Well, most likely it will be scanned in, put into an A4 page on the blending card, which is this nice thick paper. This is pretty thick, but this is definitely way thicker. And then I will do Copic marker coloring on top, which are blendable markers. I'm just going to give this a good shake. Let's give this ink a good shake here. It's been sitting a while, so just want to make sure it's in a good state. I wonder what ink is made from. I must assume it's made from some kind of carbon, coal, or some such. Some kind of carbon thing. See, this is probably what I shouldn't have done. Like, I did shake it a little bit too much. So now there's bubbles. Right. Well, anyway, I'm sure it'll be okay. Okay, the skeleton, you see, with him, I feel like I can be quite confident. I don't know, he's more organic, so I can just quickly do stuff on him, get his lines in. These thin and light. His lower lines are intentionally heavier. Let's get these eyes in. There's a little bit of paper on the tip of the dipping pen. No biggie. Bring my little card back here. I better be careful doing that. Drop some ink. Okay. Okay, he's pretty much done. There's like a circle thing here. One there. Just sort of spell effects, you could say. Maybe I'll make them look a bit more like bubbles. And then there's like sort of smoky like lines coming out of here. Very hard to see them at the moment, not gonna lie. Kind of making some of these up a little bit as I go. Because the underlying sketch is so light, I can't see very well what's going on. All right, this stuff sort of should be sort of coming more out of here. I need to just define this section as being a little bit darker. All right, yeah, I would say that's probably pretty much it for that phase of this thing. Okay, I'm going to let that skeleton dry. So while he's drying, and I'm going to do the line weighting now, I'm going to clean the dipping pen again, probably for the like 20th time. You're probably tired of hearing me say that. It's crazy. Like, I don't think there's that much ink in this water. This water is like black, black, black. Dark as the darkest night. Okay. Whoops, what am I doing? Okay, that would have been a bad idea. I had this idea that I was going to fan the piece, but that card had a bunch of ink blots on it. That would have been a very bad idea. Okay. Let's do some line weights where I can try and build the hierarchy a little bit better than it has been built. Okay. Let's start at the bottom, I guess, and work our way up. All right, so down here, I think you guys can't see that, so let me move this. Okay, down here I'm going to just making some lines bolder, which is going to give us a nice contrast. Uses a lot of ink. Not that that's a bad thing in terms of this type of work. But the thicker the line, the more ink's pouring out sort of per minute, you could say. Got to be careful, so I'm going to work sort of down here for a bit. And I definitely want this line here to be thicker. This one as well. That's okay. That's all pretty fun. Maybe this one here. We're going for line weight variety. And what I'm really trying to do is just say, well, the light is coming mainly from the top. So the lower lines will be heavier. The lines that face the ground will be heavier than the lines that face the sky. That's one way to think about it. Oh, we're running out of ink there. Okay. And here I can play with the silhouette a little bit. I don't want to work on the skeleton just yet. I kind of have to look at the piece and try to feel like where do I need more contrast, right? So I think these lines should be dry now. Well, we'll know if I mess something up. Let's bring some contrast here to this section. just to separate that section of armor from the arm, right? Just cleaning up the shape a bit. I want it just to be neater. Make sure this one's a little bit more weighted. This as well. Okay, let me work on the eyes a little bit. I haven't really touched them since I first did this a little while ago. Ugh, pen's dry. Okay. Don't want to go too thick here. Extend that lash out a bit. It's fair. It's fair. This line, I lost a bit of confidence there. That kind of sucks. Anyway, it is what it is. Just close that gap over there. You know, you really want the eyes to shine, so to speak, in the piece, especially character pieces. Okay, where else? I think we can, I was thinking of doing a little bit of a dark area here. Really emphasize the head being over the neck, right? Reload the dipping pen, some fresh ink supply there. Hopefully we don't mess this up. Don't think this area is quite dry yet. Over here. Let's give me a bit of a blow. Well, I hope I don't mess that up. All right. Now we're kind of bringing that emphasis of the head being over the neck. I think I also want to wait. Oh, let's just reload this pen. I want to wait the overlap here. So that the bun definitely looks more behind the hair, right? Do some here as well, and here as well. Yes, so we can actually move sequentially through the piece and do all of these zones. I'm just going to turn the page. Now I'm wishing I just turned the page the whole way through. Doesn't matter. I'll learn from my foolishness next time. Okay. Where else? Possibly the bottom arm. Not sure. I think I could pretty much leave this like this. Maybe I just want to extend this eyebrow line a little. And this one a little bit too. Weight it at the bottom. More. Same thing for the other one. give it a little bit more weight over here. All right. Well, I feel like I could probably leave this here. Maybe we should weight the skeleton a little bit. Just do a little tiny little bit of weighting the skeleton a bit. A tiny bit. Little extras. Oh, and perhaps I should do some thin lines somewhere just for some. I want some very, if we have to divide the line weights in our piece into 3 categories: thin and light, normal and thick. I want to add more thin and light lines to create a contrast between the normal weight lines. So let's quickly give the skeleton some extra weight, especially in the bottom line areas. Like that. I think that's okay. It's not the best skull I've ever drawn, but anyway, it'll have to do. I'll add a little bit of extra noise here and there. So some dots, some little circles, just to try and sell that magical smoky vibe. Just getting him some extra line detail here. Add some noise to him. All right, and then I will add some extra light lines to the piece, and then I think we can call it done after that. So we are almost the finish line. Just cleaning the dipping pen again before I do these thin lines. This contrast of thick to thin is all about visual interest. So it's a fundamental to the fundamentals, if you will. It's a compositional thing, so to speak. Just trying to get the thinnest lines I can. Okay, I have to press like super light. Let's get some thin lines in here. Oh, I forgot about some of these guys. It's fine, I'll make them just really thin. Maybe some thin lines in the hair. I have to be careful. I can't just go wherever I want. Contrasting thin lines. Okay, some of those don't actually make any sense at all, but whatever. It's fine. And I definitely think I want some thin lines in the bun, like as thin as I can go at least, just to emphasize some details here. Emphasize the strands. If that's okay, that'll do. All right, Well, I think I'm going to leave it at that for today. I think it's pretty much done. I don't even know if I'd actually touch it anymore from this point. I'd just probably move straight to color. Thank you so much for joining me on this sketch session. I hope that you had a chill time, a relaxed time. I hope you felt creative and maybe inspired even. And I hope that you're going to do some great art real soon. And please do share it with me on the Discord. The links will be in the description below. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.